All right, thanks for joining us again on Veterans to Veterans Group Podcast, Family Through Service. I think I said it backwards.
You did.
Of course, I always do. So we're back from our Christmas vacation and New Year's vacation. And it was nice to have a little break. Our vacation from podcasting, of course, but not from client assistance because we just don't stop.
No, that's, and to even show that is on Christmas Eve, we had a family that had just taken a drive all the way from California to relocate here in New Hampshire, and they had quite literally nothing for the holidays. So it was great that we had some extra stuff to give them, food and present-wise for their teenage son. So
we did, and we were able to do that and assist them, and further still. So we're not in the office, so you may hear some background noise from time to time, and that's okay because we don't have a studio at this point, but we're doing what we can do.
Yeah, and Family Through Service, both of our families are deeply involved, and that includes the kids. So,
yes. I guess we just have to. I'm adjusting the volume here. We just have to learn to deal with working from home, like so many people do now.
Well, especially with the whatever fourth wave of scariness of the COVID and whatnot. And
for real.
But I think we should have a little fun today instead of talking about any of that nonsense.
I agree. So one of the things that we came across was I had asked a client if he could do something for us, send us some paperwork or something that I felt was a simple task or whatever.
Yeah. And
he said, I'll get right on that as soon as my wife gets home. And I chuckled, because it was, he didn't give me any background. For all I know, his wife could have had the document. I don't know. But you said something, Chuck, that kind of got us on the idea for this podcast.
Yeah, and I said, well, you got to wait for the boss.
Yes.
And there's plenty of sitcoms that make fun of the, in-laws and parents. And so on the serious note, we talk about that because with you having a TBI and with me having PTSD, one of the main things in both of those is impulse buying, which could adversely affect the the accounts and bills and things of that nature. So there is seriousness to it when we talk about it, but there's a lot of fun to be had as well.
There is, and "wait for the boss" is a phrase that a lot of veterans use because their wife or their spouse is the gatekeeper for some decisions, and it ends up being for multiple decisions. And impulse buying that you talked about is a big thing. So I've been accused and have been found guilty of some impulse buying.
And found guilty.
And found guilty. I could speak to two impulse purchases that they just arrived at the door, and my wife said, "What the fuck? Where? Like, what is this all about?" So the first one, I'll do one, and then if you have one,
yeah.
So we were sitting, my wife and I were sitting on the couch here, and we had a knock on the door, and we said, "Oh, are you expecting a package?" "No, whatever." So we opened the door, and there was a little package, and it was heavy, and in it was 2 ounces of silver bullion coins. Now, we collect silver as a form of hard currency, but I always discuss the purchase of silver with my wife because it's an investment.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, for sure.
So, no, it wasn't 2 ounces of silver. It was 20 ounces of silver. So each coin is a troy ounce.
Yeah.
So it's 20 coins. So it's roughly, a couple $100s of silver. And my wife said, "Where the fuck? When did you order silver? Like, we didn't talk about this." And I said, I don't know when I ordered silver. And she said, "What account did you order it on?" I said, "I don't know."
So, the one that's negative right now.
Yeah, so we had to do some sleuthing and figure out, and I didn't return it because whatever. I mean, I already have it at this point, but it was like a Christmas gift from me to me.
Yeah, and we should be allowed to do that, especially with both of us having fairly large families, and we don't really do a lot for each other as adults, when it comes to the holidays. So to be able to do something like that is nice.
It's a nice surprise, although we had a little mini argument about it because, I mean, we can't just drop a couple $100 and not tell anybody about it. That's not chump change for people like us.
So
what about you?
Mine is also another gift, and this just happened. So I don't know, a month or two ago, I tagged my wife in something I wanted, which was that laser, the Bohr laser cider.
Yes.
So I didn't realize that she had it in her shopping cart and everything. Well, I knew your birthday was coming up. We had all this stuff going on. So I was like, I'm going to buy Eric his gift now, and I'll buy one for myself. And so I told her, hey, you're going to get an email. And she was like flipping out on me. She was more mad that I did it and kind of ruined what she was going to do.
Right.
But it's still that impulse buying and then talking about it after the fact.
Yeah.
That does, I mean, luckily mine was a lot less expensive than what yours was.
But it was the principle of the matter.
Oh, absolutely.
It's more that I see it, I want it.
Yeah. Oh,
and I'm going to get it. Consequences be damned.
And sometimes it's scary because with that tactical Boresight laser, there are 3 or 4 companies that had it on Facebook where I ordered it from. And the first one I tagged you in and I said I got it from actually had completely terrible reviews. Every review was people saying that they never received it. And luckily, I went into my bank account and I realized it wasn't that one, so I found the right one, and then I tagged you in the correct one.
Yes.
But if that was $100 and something, and it was to a company that has been known to not provide, then that's money gone. Like you get nothing.
It would have been a real pain in the ass for sure.
But it's funny because both of our wives, and we joke because we say, but they both give us some sort of an allowance. Like
kind of. I mean, not literally, but more or less.
Yeah, they give us guidelines on how much we should stick around when we're buying stuff for ourselves, or, for you and I's instance, we do a lot for each other, low key, to try and show our appreciation, and a lot of it's relatively inexpensive stuff because you and I both like things from the heart, and you know what I like, I know what you like. So they try and keep us in a certain budget, which is the whole being a boss and running the finance aspect of things.
Yeah. The second thing I ordered. Now, see, those of you who've listened to us for a while know that I'm allergic to ingested alcohol. It's a shame. I'm not alcoholic. I've never been, but I like to enjoy a drink every now and then. I liked to enjoy a drink every now and then.
Past tense.
I ordered. So we're members of a site called VRV, Veterans Referring Veterans, and it's an aggregate site run by Justin Clark. It's a great site.
Yeah.
Veterans Referring Veterans, for it's business owners, businesses, and charities, veteran owned, and you can find it on Facebook, VRV. And it's an aggregate site, then everybody kind of works together to network.
Yeah, it's been great
We've made some great friends and businesses. And one of these businesses there is a place called Four Brothers Mead. Mead, if you don't know, is a traditional from Viking days honey wine. It's a honey drink. It's a honey wine, honey liquor. More of a wine than a liquor, but 16% alcohol by volume. So it's a pretty stout wine. And I loved it. I loved it growing up, and it's very expensive. And Four Brothers Mead, they're in Missouri, for my family in Missouri. They make it with local honey, raw honey, and everything. It's supposed to be this fabulous mead. And I was sitting again on the couch, and we see the delivery person walk away, and I go out there, and there's a box that says fragile alcoholic contents within. And I said, there's no way this is for me. Nobody in this family drinks. Nobody. So I looked to see who it's actually for. I thought maybe it was for my son or something. No, it was addressed to me. So I opened it up, and there's one bottle sitting on the table over there, and it's 2 bottles, 750 milliliter bottles of traditional mead from Four Brothers Mead. And I don't remember ordering it. Jen goes, babe, listen, I know you want to support veteran-owned companies. I know you loved mead. but you can't drink it. Why the fuck did you order it? I said, babe, I don't remember ordering it.
Now it's just going to collect dust and, you know.
Well, here's the thing. I have one on the table, okay, and I have one in the fridge that's cold, and I'm going to drink it. It's probably going to take me a month to drink. I can drink it probably in a shot glass, and I'll get a reaction to it. But I've got to, I mean, I bought it. I have to try it.
Yeah, no, I can understand that, even if it costs you your life.
Yeah, do what you got to do.
Right? I mean, hey.
I'll die with a smile on my face. I mean, and honey mead dripping out of my mouth. But, you know, but again, it's one of those things that's an impulse buy. I didn't run it past the boss because it's something that many veterans, especially with PTSD, which is it is traumatic, but it's a form of a brain injury.
Yeah, TBI is a physical brain injury, where in your case you had the surgery.
Right.
So, and PTSD is an ill adjustment with the chemicals and reactions in the brain.
And so it's still a brain injury, brain affected injury. And people with these brain conditions, we'll say,
I like it,
tend to do these impulsive things. And it's not just buying things on an impulse, on a whim, but sometimes it's impulsive behaviors, sometimes it's impulsive attitudes, reactions. But the more benign things that we're talking about for this podcast are purchases.
Yes.
Luckily, in our case, it tends to be smaller amount purchases.
Yeah.
But, I mean, if I ever bought a car, I'd have to return it.
Well, and you know, my second instant is actually before I was diagnosed.
Mm-hmm.
I had...
But you had it.
Yes, and I just wasn't aware.
Right.
We had things set up for our car payment and for our rent to come directly out of the account, and I didn't fully understand how that was working, and I thought money was coming out of the account when we lived in Bethlehem, and rent was $1,200, so I didn't connect the dots that money hadn't been taken out, and obviously that put us in default. And luckily, the property manager was willing to help with, working with us and things of that nature. But in an ordinary instant, that, I mean, we could have been facing eviction and all those things.
Spiraled into some trouble, for sure.
So, it really...
It's not safe financially.
And it's important for us to be able to understand and let go of some of that need to be in some control.
Yeah, I'm gonna get my own bank account with hookers and beer.
Yeah, well,
That's Futurama. So you said it has to do with control, having some kind of control over things. It's not meaning that our wives or significant others don't give us control or would allow us control over things. It's that we know and they know that due to our impulsiveness, it's not ideal for us to have sole control over our finances. So it's like a mutual allowance that you handle this stuff and let me do my thing with an allowance.
Yeah,
it's not here's $20. Here's $20 a week. Here's your allowance, but it's you have this range to do what you need to do. But I think there's a sense of freedom there to say that, like, for instance, I know where all of my money goes. Our money, my wife's and I, where our money goes, where all the bills are.
Her money, you mean?
Her money, because what's mine is hers, and what's hers is hers, and what's ours is hers. But I know where the money goes. I know where the finances go. We work together to pay bills, so I'm very aware of the finances.
Yeah.
But she does the actual, literal bill paying, and I'm just aware of it, so I can keep up to date with it. So, when the VA or whoever asked me, "Are you abreast of your bills?" Do you know? Yeah, I do. I know the bills and I know all this stuff.
And
I'm
it's
just not actually the
involved.
one to pay the bills.
And for young veterans,
and we have a lot that auto draw,
which is great with technology nowadays. But you also have to worry about the other end of identity theft.
That's
but
true.
With younger veterans, the pridefulness of wanting to be in complete control and do everything on your own, that's where you kind of get yourselves in trouble. And that's where we have been prior to.
Because you want that.
You're the man of the house.
Yeah, I'm the man. I want the money to be, distributed by me, rah, rah, rah. And it can be, it can be tough because there can be a clash. But I was reading somewhere that most relationships that spouses have, relationship troubles, are statistically are around money, finances.
Yeah, we've talked about this a couple times off mic and air and stuff. And what's funny is you and I have come to the conclusion most of our arguments with our bosses have come from different ideas as far as disciplining the children and what one person thinks is appropriate and another is like, oh, well, it's really not that big a deal. And
for us, it is for sure.
Which I think is funny that we've kind of gotten past the bigger issue of money in our relationships.
I agree. And that's money, the finances. Do we stress about finances in my family? Yes. Do we fight about it? Very, very rarely.
Yeah.
Except when I make impulse buys that Jen's like, why did our check bounce? And I'm like, well, I don't know, but here's 20 ounces of silver. But yeah, our biggest arguments are typically about disciplinary actions and reactions and things like that.
And
you're right. Yeah.
We're not talking about should we use the switch or the belt. We're not talking about those things. We're talking about one of our teenagers does something stupid, and maybe I feel like, okay, that's a teenager thing to do, whatever. And then my wife is like, no, we need to set, the ground rules and do a punishment. And not backing each other up in those instances is where you get that friction.
And that's where the friction is. Same thing with my wife and I. And I think it's common for couples to go through cycles and phases of friction of issues.
Hey, and
ultimately, I feel that if you're a man about things, you have veto power over a lot of things, but your wife does too.
Yeah.
But them being the boss, that it's like, okay, although I do have some sort of veto power, just like they do, most of the time after I say what I have to say, I'm going to defer to your judgment, and we'll compromise after I say what I have to say.
And compromise is another word for doing it their way. That's right. Okay.
Like the cats. We have an old cat, and I wanted no more cats, so we compromised and got 2 more cats.
And that's true. I can testify to that.
That's true. That's true.
And but looking at it, if the worst of our problems is us bitching at each other's significant others about our kids who we love unconditionally but also want to bury alive, then we're doing okay, as far as society standards, as far as the average American couple goes. I think we're doing all right. I mean, if we're not picking apart all those bigger issues and we are focusing on the little ones.
So Jen and I are coming up on 20 years this September.
Oh my gosh, 20 years.
Well, 20 years married, but we've been together longer than that. So
yeah, that's right. You're already turning 41 this year, right? Next month, 2 months.
2 months.
Next month, yeah. So
I'm still closer to 40 than I am to 50, so I'm okay.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. And Jen's turning 21 again, right?
She's perpetually turning 21.
So I mean, that's good.
22 because she doesn't drink, so it doesn't matter. 21. So, yeah.
But one other compulse thing that I do, and a lot of times it ends up being funny for a lot of people. Sometimes it gets me in trouble. Is that I have this, the only thing I'm good at is turning any type of a conversation into a sexual innuendo. And you know this about
Marine,
me.
So.
And I don't think about it. I don't plan it. It's just what I do. And again, a lot of times it causes us to chuckle. But there have been times where Jen has gotten upset and has had to say something to me, or my wife has said something to me because, it just is inappropriate depending on who's around and what people feel comfortable with. But that's just another example of some impulses that it's not intent. A lot of times I don't even realize what I have said and how it could have offended somebody.
And here comes the crowd.
So
that's it. Thanks for joining us today, and be impulsive, but be polite.
Yeah.